You know them. They're those bands and artists that, well, they just have more going on than just the band, more than just the music. They start to transcend, they become something else. And that something else, does it leave them no longer prevalent to the music they made? Or did they become something bigger, stronger, or truly brilliantly iconic? Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to Beyond Your Radios of Sound Minds. This is episode 6, Band or Brand. Of Sound Minds, this is where we pick a topic and we let the panelists go crazy. And this one is always a good ongoing conversation, considering the music industry from past to present. Let's identify what a brand is, because we know what a band is. Well, at least we think what a band is now that AI is in the picture. It's an identifying mark, symbol, words, or combination of same that separates one company's product or services from any others. Brand is a comprehensive term that includes all brand names and trademarks. And in the case, it's recognized the world over, or in some cases, maybe even more than visual it is rather than the sound it is, or that which it isn't even affiliated with. Like lingerie from Rihanna has nothing to do with music. Or what about something in reverse, where it's a brand and now it's a band? Anybody? Anybody? Spinal Tap? Okay, so it was a movie, then it becomes a band.
I don't know why I
what
didn't think
about
of that
Korn?
one.
What about Korn? Adidas. Man, there's a brand collision right there. Not to mention connection of liquor and wine and bourbon. Yeah, who hasn't tried that peanut butter banana bacon bourbon from Elvis? Yeah, he's been making that from the dead since forever, right?
Cabo Wabo.
But Cabo Wabo, it doesn't have Sammy Hagar on it. You don't know unless you know, right? Tonight we start with my first selection to kick things off, and then we'll break it down to the people around me, to the panelists here to bring in theirs. And it's a band that I personally believe left the music realm long time ago and are more of a brand than anything else. Kiss. I will give you that predictable garage rock. No reinvention. They just got a riff. They do a solo, give it an easy sing along that everybody, and then well dress it up and call it rock and roll. It was more about the look than it was more about the theatrics. Then it became the merchandise. Then it was the spectacle. And while the musicianship was dial it in, play it again, they push, sell, repeat. It's genius. It's absolute genius, right? Yes, got to give it to them. It's not the first time, but it certainly is one of the most iconic and bombastic of all time. We're at the point where they could be animatronic puppets on a stage and no one would give a shit. All right. I saw Kiss. That's right. You saw Kiss. You didn't hear Kiss. You heard some guy up behind the stage. You heard a drummer's back. I don't know what else you heard. I know exactly what you heard, though. Maybe the most overrated band of all time, considering time it's taken on our music souls, in my opinion. They are a brand now, bar none. But before we talk kissing, let's introduce the panel tonight. All right? Let's introduce, Mr. Pint of Ben and Jerry's, the Grateful Dude. Who else is on here? He's wasting time locked away in Lockport, Reedaville. Alex Kolesny.
I guarantee you need a margarita to live here.
She promised in this session she wouldn't mention Menudo. It's Susie Q.
You not like Kiss, Mark?
Maybe not. So, panelists, what do you say about my Kiss?
They call him Dr. Love.
Are they banned? Are they brand? The Grateful Dude's been there with them since the dawn of time.
Well, they're brand. They're brand. I never thought they were a band. I never thought they were a band until they never had. Sure, they had a couple hits and stuff like that, but they're Brad. They're Brad. There's no question about it. There's no question.
I've got a couple albums. I play them from time to time, but man, it's
They were a band at what I thought was their heart and soul, but I think they lost it to the brand side the second that you could take anybody else that was from the original cast and shove the same makeup on them, and you wouldn't have known the difference.
Right?
That's
the
where
fact that you
that's where
said-
you lost that.
And the fact that you said cast instead of band.
Well, the original makeup of it was the band, and then the
Right.
second that you disassemble that and you just throw any old piece in there, but with the same makeup, like you could have someone who can sing like Gene Simmons, but if you throw Gene Simmons's makeup on Mark, and everyone up there goes, "I'm seeing Kiss," no, you're not. That's where you lose to the brand.
Yeah.
Although, please, for the love of God, Mark, never wear Gene Simmons makeup.
yeah.
Come on,
I don't have-
you're taking away the Halloween present I got him.
What in 3 weeks for Halloween, the four of us are gonna dress as Kiss?
Oh.
Him,
Oh,
just him.
there's a horribly good idea. So I'll leave it at that. I mean, I understand the power of it. I mean, I understand in this day and age, especially, maybe not then, but I seek more bands would want to be brand because making money on your music is even harder these days. Unless of course you can tour to the mega colossalness of Taylor Swift or Adele.
Yeah. Well, all right. I'm gonna kick off a little bit of conversation in the sense of not necessarily naming a pick per se of mine, but as I hear that, I think like I don't see Taylor Swift as a brand yet, which is funny because she is to the popularity she is, but she's not. She doesn't need to market herself. You know, she isn't using some exuberant font that is exclusive to her that the second you see it, you know it's her. There's not necessarily like other than maybe reputation with the snake, couldn't associate with you a logo or a symbol that goes to her. And I only know that because I was at a store this week and saw a snake designed thing that looked like it, and someone I was with goes, "Ooh, that's Taylor Swift Reputation themed," and I go, "That's the only reason I even
Okay.
put that there as a brand." But I think the bands that did it the best were when they were the most necessary in the earlier decades of the 70s or 80s, that there was some sort of look always associated with certain groups that fit. I mean, obviously Zeppelin had the logos. You could go as far as to, AC/DC with the Thunderbolt. If I say Van Halen, everyone pictures a red background with a bunch of white and black stripes. They picture the guitar.
Yeah.
They actually had their own font and picturesque logo,
Correct.
right? So yeah,
correct. Nirvana
but does
mastered
a
it.
logo make for? I mean, you got a logo, but does that make it a brand? I mean, we have a logo. No one knows who the hell we are.
No, but I think too, when you're at their scale, it becomes easy to associate. And I think that's where it's a little different. Like Nirvana did it in the 90s with the smiley face, with the X'd out eyes. And, even when you see that, marketing was a big part of the grunge movement because how are these people going to draw shows and make money? And I think to rock bands, I mean, you can go down the list. The Who with the red, white, and blue bullseye and with the black lines. You can go throughout multiple. The Beatles had their own exclusive font that I swear to God, you could plug anything in there and you'd know what it's referencing. Case in point, when the Foo Fighters did the Live on Letterman set and Foo Fighters was in the Beatles font, you knew what they were ripping off there. Or at least trying to mimic. I shouldn't say rip off, but mimic from that show.
Mimic.
So, I I think when you can have a quick association like that, that's when you teeter on the line of brand because it's a very marketable thing. But you know, if I told you some of my personal favorites right now, you know, the Trues, the Arkells, I'm hopefully going to see Matthew Good band in less than a month. Or Matthew Good and his band, or whatever the fuck he's calling it now. I can't tell you a symbol that sticks out to these people other than maybe an album cover logo. And to that point, I don't see a brand in maybe some modern groups. Look at some of the modern pop people that are taking off. Sabrina Carpenter. I don't know anything branding about her. Chappell Roan. Got nothing. There's no brand that comes off there. That to me seems more like they don't need to market anymore when they're just pushed right in front of you and it's there. The marketing and the branding seems more like it's a grassroots effort. It's coming from something and they need to make you noticeable. Not a lot of people need to do that anymore.
Grateful Dude, do you have one? I'm thinking
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah, I'm going to go off. I know what you and me talked about, but I want to talk about Elvis Presley. He's got
Good
the
one.
biggest brand there is.
Yeah.
He died, what, 20 years ago? Something like that. Yeah. Anybody, you talk to anybody who's 5 to 105, and they know who he is. You know, his music is still prevalent. His brand is still there. I was at a store in the airport. I don't remember where it was. I believe it was Japan, and it was all Elvis. And so, you know, it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you're old or you're young. It's still a thing of the thing.
Did he? Okay, so let's look at this him for a second. Band or brand or artist transcend band or brand. So would he be both?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so I would say that's probably fair.
He
I would say
he
at certain
started out
points-
he started out as a band for sure. You know,
Yeah.
his music, and then the minute he got out there, they saw what the people liked, and they just
Oh yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
he did movies. He did all of different formats, but I mean,
Yeah.
they were all branding.
gave the
Great
people-
example. All right, so there's a person who wins both. Sue, what do you got?
Well, just talking like what we were just talking about, and Alex and old and new, and this isn't the band that I picked, but I'm just curious. So, what about a band like the Monkees? Because I don't really know going back in time what happened, like the TV show or their lunch boxes or their music. But they were into everything too for a long time, and they could play music though too. So what happened? Does anybody know? I'm just curious.
Well,
What about
They were definitely in my
I
book.
couldn't tell you.
They were a brand. I remember them.
yeah.
They were a brand. They started out as a brand. So they over in a year's time they learned how to play the drums and stuff like that. But they were still a brand, and they were marketed as a brand.
All right, I'm gonna play devil's advocate on this. I don't know that I'd call them a brand because I couldn't tell you who the hell they were.
You don't know the Monkees at all?
Well, no, but like from a branding standpoint, I when I hear the Monkees,
Oh.
I'm not thinking like a.
Okay. They were everywhere.
Well,
I have,
They
I
were-
have I have nothing to do this with now, and I'm going to counterpoint that with going right up the Grateful Dude's alley. I didn't listen to the Grateful Dead growing up. Hell, couldn't even tell you a song to this day by title.
Well, sure, and that's expected.
But I could tell you the brand immediately. I could tell you the skull.
Yeah.
I could tell you when I had a T-ball coach, and every single day at T-ball that we ever had anything as a team event, he was wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, and that's the way I first learned about him.
Mhm.
And that
Yeah.
was I never even knew they were a band for the longest time. And I'm talking, this is 3 to 6 year old me
Yeah.
at that point. So,
Well,
but I don't have that same feeling with the Monkees. I don't have I don't have a logo
You
I
are-
can or a font or something I can point to.
You're the exception to the rule, because I know
Yeah.
millions of people didn't know the Monkees.
Oh, yeah.
Millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Monkees
when I was
know-
growing up, like literally it was, I mean, they put their faces on everything, and I I'm not that old, but I even still remember a TV show, and
Yeah.
yeah, their faces were everywhere, Alex. It was some of my earliest memories.
So
But I thought they could play too, but that's my old, that's my old.
So what you're
So-
saying is Alex never monkeyed around? Is that?
No, I got the No More Monkeys jumping on the bed when I spliced open my eye
Oh,
off the
okay. Yeah,
headboard.
you got
so,
monkeys different. Yeah.
So you know what? I'll throw in my submission that I was really thinking about before this show, and it's very timely with the announcement that came down in the last day or two. You got to peg Oasis as a brand or as a band. I don't know when I think of the band Oasis that I can associate them with any sort of brand. And their popularity is massive. But if you told me to associate something with them,
Yeah.
other than being, an English European rooted band, I got nothing.
I'll take a
put them in
stab at
brand.
this. There's so much disdain between the people within the band that they probably couldn't decide on a brand if they wanted to,
Correct.
right? So
So this
if they
can
couldn't-
get filed in a different part of the debate too about how much it matters.
I don't know. I've always had, I mean, they have made some great music, some good songs. I've never felt that any one album was any major triumph that needed to be in the
Correct.
top 200 albums of all time.
I feel
I
the
think
same
they're
way.
more of I don't know. I've never seen them live, and that's probably a problem because that would probably elevate certain things. But I think there's a little bloviation there of those people because the talent within them outside that band never really articulated it very much to me.
Mhm.
I like some of the songs. I like some of the collaborations. The latest one was okay with
But
him and Squire. So
but you can also say that their popularity, whether it is or isn't to us, is immense to the point of a cult following.
yes, yes to some yeah. I can only associate it with those people that Wonderwall was their triumphant
Yes.
theme of the moment, and maybe that's more brand than the band itself. Considering
Right.
it's been beautifully covered by Ryan Adams, which may be even better than the original, and people can start their hate clicks or whatever and whatever.
Right.
Look at Jimmy Buffett.
Um,
He got famous after he died.
Yeah.
He sold more records since he's died to now.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that because I
That's
think more
crazy.
people want to do a dive on the music. But you cannot tell me that man isn't a brand because
Absolute a brand.
because
Absolutely a brand.
because there is not a single person, and if you say you are, you're lying. There's not a single person that ever holds a margarita and not a single fleeting thought in their head ever says Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett, for 5 milliseconds when you're holding a margarita.
Oh yeah,
Everybody does it every single time.
I have
Every time.
I have 5 o'clock somewhere on my bar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That
But he was a band and he was a brand.
I would say yes, but it has taken his passing for people to want to explore the music. Because
Definitely.
I'll go the country route and someone who is a close friend of Jimmy Buffett. The new Jimmy Buffett is Kenny Chesney.
Yeah, makes sense.
His playing stadium shows, the No Shoes Nation, having cruises named after him, the collaborations, the pirate flag being Kenny Chesney's gimmick now. That looks like a an islander who is laid back, but it's a pirate flag. Like it's just
He's the beginning of a brand.
he very much is. And I've learned you're either a Kenny guy or you're not. And I know this from being neutral. And I'll lean towards the being a Kenny guy because I like his music. When I was ironically enough coaching at Trine, as I'm wearing the shirt today, I worked with a buddy of mine, John, who ran a sector in our rink, and I have never met a bigger Kenny Chesney fan in my life. If there was a week that went by where once he didn't tell a story about being in Tortuga watching Kenny Chesney as one of his life's highlights, maybe more so than his wedding, I'd be surprised. And if that doesn't tell you that I did not realize there was an unlocked version of Kenny fans that I had never witnessed before and now have, there you are. Kenny is very much on his way, and it's a very niche thing. Either people want to die to go see Kenny Chesney shows, or they just don't care at all.
Do you believe that an artist or a band cares, or if they do care to make brand, then they're not really a true artist?
I'd love to know.
I mean,
I'd love to know an example of a band whose intent is to be about that.
I would think Kiss's intent was to be that.
I
I would
know-
think that.
I know monkeys were.
So now here's my point on Kiss. Is that intent or is it greed? Because greed can go the other way, where you sign off on everything to be made about you, figurines.
Okay,
You
so
know.
my assumption is that they knew the limitations of the music.
And so they wanted to milk it as far as they could.
And milking it as far as they could means they had to create a brand. They had to be something more than the music. This is the
Right.
problem probably with other artists in the field of the Billie Eilishes of the world. You know, you will not survive on that music. I'm sorry. You can take it to heart or whatever. Those concerts are not going to be that overwhelming because it's kind of blasé. It doesn't have it has a signature tone that is basically throughout most of every album, is going to be through most of every concert. It's going to be very difficult to create a fan base into years to come if you don't have a sound that can transcend date, time, or become classical to some degree. Like the Rushes of the world, the Zeppelins of the world, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, Taylor Swift, who's transcended different genres. Let's just Paul McCartney himself and how he's moved around and done so many things, and that he's not a brand. He's a band. He's just a performer. His band
But he's
is a brand, but a
too.
band.
He's a brand too. He's a brand.
You know what? I'm going to agree and disagree at the same time with that. I don't think he's a brand, but I think he was part of a brand.
No, because Paul McCartney is a brand himself.
So
You
how?
can go to paulmccartney.com. You can buy anything on here. They sell everything on that site.
I don't get me wrong. I mean, okay, let me preface one thing, that a lot of bands sell merchandise and things of that nature. I'm not saying that. He's not immediately identifiable by some sort of moniker or sound. His band is, he is not. But his personality might be a brand. His history is brand. Maybe. Sue, where do you fall on that?
I mean, I feel like his name alone, if you
Is
say his
brand.
name, yeah, he needs
All right.
nothing
Well,
else.
I guess I'd have to give that to somebody because when I say the last one and drop the bomb, then we'll see where we stand.
Oh, drop the bomb.
Well, the bomb
Well,
for
no,
me,
I got
the bomb for me was Elvis, like, because that had my mind spinning between brand, but then, like, the idea of an impersonator. I can see the friggin' robe if I close my eyes and the sideburns of the hair exactly as it sits.
he's at the Bills game. He's playing a concert. He might be still alive. He's in the movie that it's not even the real
Right.
him. Yeah, yes. Yes. Yeah.
Elvis has left the building.
Elvis, yeah, maybe. I
The
don't know.
fucking saying, exactly. Like,
When you're
Which,
saying
which,
you
by the
made
way, I'm just gonna throw this fun fact in there. I didn't realize in all my years of travel in hockey, when I went to recruit a game in Shreveport, Louisiana, and this fairgrounds that the Shreveport Mudbugs played in, I looked up the arena because it looked older than shit. That arena where the Mudbugs play was the convention center during the fair in which Elvis and that phrase was coined.
Oh, wow.
In order
So
to
you
disperse the crowds, they made the announcement that Elvis had left the building.
left the building. Wow, that's cool.
And I did not
Never been
realize
to
it. And
Shreveport.
I learned that after the first time I was there. The second time I was there, you better believe during like some dead time there, I kind of looked around and went, man, can you imagine this place
Mhm.
Yeah,
when he was there? Holy shit.
yeah.
So I had one of those
Yeah.
moments too.
Sue, do you have another or
Well, I wasn't sure. I was just kind of off of the so similar thing like the group YouTube or the band YouTube. Um, they are kind of like a social causes type band who are associated with a lot of different political movements, and I feel like they're one of the I guess there's more than just them, but they're one of the few bands that have managed to um, stay out of a lot of political grief and gaps and have a good reputation. People like them from all different sides, all different backgrounds, and they come right out and say different things that stand up for different causes that you may or may not agree with or believe in, but they've raised a gazillion dollars for different causes over the years. And it's almost to the point like, obviously in the beginning, well, even in the beginning, I mean, they were kind of like a cause band, but now it's like, are they out there raising money and changing the world, or are they just this little band that people go to see? I don't know.
Well,
is
little band, let's.
right. They're global.
When you have a
Yeah.
residency in Vegas at the Sphere, I think little band is out the window.
Yeah.
But I look at it as when they were associated with the Red Project with Apple.
Yes. Yes.
That was the first thing. The second thing, and I'm going to go full Lewis Black for 5 seconds, so they won't get off my freaking iPod.
yeah.
That stupid album is in my Apple Music, and I delete it, and it comes back, and I delete it, and it comes back, and I delete it, and it comes back.
Song of
That thing's
Innocent.
That thing,
Yeah, Song of
Glitter,
Innocence.
that album, Glitter, and Herpes. They're like 3 things that just constantly, as much as you try to remove them, are right freaking back when you don't want them.
So sorry,
I don't
Alex.
know what you're talking about in this herpes thing, but that's you can go ahead with that.
I'm not speaking for me, I'm speaking for others. But anyway.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
We're not so sure.
Hey,
They're,
I always
they're a
referred
band.
to
They're a
I always
band. They're
referred
a
to
brand.
Glitter is the herpes of the craft world. That's what I've
Yeah,
always
there you go.
heard.
Yeah, that might have been not the greatest brand move for Mariah Carey.
So That was
Speaking of
my
brand.
only, that was my only other thought. And obviously
It's-
different than, you know, the face on a lunchbox or
yeah.
or a logo. They have kind of been they become a movement almost for charitable causes, but not in an annoying way, you know. They make it work, I think.
Their band and their brand means something more than just the music. It's
Yeah.
good. It's a good point. I mean, I might not always agree with them. It's like save the world, save this, but they're having their clothes made in Malaysia or whatever. But anyway,
Do they though?
you know,
Do they though? I don't know. Do they? I don't know.
well, yeah, I don't know.
You should
Sweatshop.
like put an asterisk down there. I don't know where their clothes are made.
So Grateful Dude, anything else from you?
No, I'm waiting for the big bomb.
You're waiting
Yeah,
for the
drop
bomb
the
to drop.
bomb.
All right. All right. To wrap it up, I've been waiting for something like this. So he's a brand without even knowing it or trying to be one, not by name. Well, maybe by name if you know, but by sound. He is the most identifiable musician by sound in the history of music. It's a perfect example of an artist becoming a brand where the brand is exactly what it's supposed to be, the music. John Williams has composed and managed to take a classical romantic approach and weave it into something so much more, from whimsical to the most sincerely frightening, which has included at least 25 Grammy Awards, 5 Academy Awards, as well as other accolades, which includes the most nominations by one single man for an Academy Award in the history of filmmaking and actual work in production. So suck that, Walt Disney, all right? Because you didn't really do any of the work. You just
You
thought
like
about
Walt
it,
Disney.
you
You
know?
like Walt Disney.
Well, anyway, this is the single most decorated man in movie making and sound. He received the Academy Award, obviously, for Fiddler on the Roof. That was the first one. But Jaws, everyone knows the shark is coming. Even if you haven't seen the movie, you know the shark is coming. It's immediate. Star Wars. You can take Star Wars twice. The Star Wars theme or the Imperial Death March that's actually played at weddings. Everyone knows that E.T. is coming home. All right? That's iconic. Schindler's List, a little bit more downtrodden, and you got the war movie Saving Private Ryan, but you've got 5 keys, and you immediately know that something about an alien is happening, and it's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Right? Iconic. Wait a minute. When that music starts, you automatically know dinosaurs are coming. Nobody else does that. And then finally, if you really want to get it, there's this, treasure finder with this crazy looking hat and a whip, Indiana Jones. When that comes on, everybody knows. Everybody knows it immediately. But if you think that that's, Superman, Harry Potter, Home Alone, for crying out loud, all right? If you don't think that's enough, hang on, I'm not done. Sunday Night Football, John Williams. NBC Nightly News, John Williams.
Miami
Meet the
Vice.
Press. No, not Miami Vice. That's Jan Hammer. But maybe he's another. No, anyway. Meet the Press, the longest running television show in the history of TV. John Williams. But anyone in any country, whether they have the language barrier or has even had a moment of non-movie knowledge, knows, yes, that shark is coming. That's the theme from Star Wars, the Imperial Death March, dinosaurs, E.T. He got everything. Orchestras in schools around the world, sporting events around the world, learn and play, and every audience member does not need a program to identify the song. A song that has no title, that anyone cares about, has no nostalgic title. It has a sound. It's not fancy titles, no memory of it, but the sound. His sound is brand. And one man that will probably last a lifetime after that, and maybe forever. It's not Taylor. It's not the Beatles. It's not even whoever comes next, probably. I don't think. But panelists, final say.
I will say something quick. I believe that Williams is a writer of songs, but he's not a brand because nobody knows who wrote it. They don't know him. It's you and me and most of the panelists know who he is, but there's a lot of people out there that have no clue who he is. So I'm gonna stick to do my guns on this one. I don't believe he is a band or a brand. He's a writer of songs.
Well, he's a composer, writer, classical trained
I will-
orchestrator.
I will shrink it a little bit to a smaller scale. I use my youth and my ignorance as a really good gauge of band and branding. As a kid, had zero freaking clue who Hank Williams was. Until what? Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football.
So similar extent, I could see it. Very much so, as a prevalent thing. Granted, I think Hank had a little more notoriety, and maybe that came from his actual play and his popularity, and then doing the theme the way Carrie Underwood now does the Sunday Night Football theme. And maybe that's going to be people's first, impression of her at a young age that, was similar to what I felt. But I think there is a little bit something different where, like, I didn't know who that was till you just named him.
Does it matter?
No, but it
Nobody knows who made Kleenex, but they call it Kleenex.
hey, they may not know. They may not know, but does that make it doesn't make him a brand?
Does it matter in the grand scheme? No, but yes, like Chef Jeff saying, it doesn't necessarily make him that a brand because of doing that. However, if he had a little more notoriety for it, so okay, good parallel to this. He may not have the notoriety of being the guy who can create themes. But you know who was a really good one at doing such and made a name for himself off of it? Not maybe themes, but parodies. Weird Al.
Yeah, Weird Al is more well known than John Williams. John Williams is more famous, but famous in his own right. He has the Academy Awards, he has the nominations and stuff like that. But Weird Al doesn't have that, but he has the notoriety.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like a recognition for your shtick, in a way, when you compare the two. Williams knows his line and fits in it, but Weird Al made his worth off of it.
Sue?
I mean, for me, because I know we've talked about this person now a few times, so I'm becoming familiar with him, but yeah, I guess I wouldn't know what to relate the song or who to relate the songs to. I would have never guessed, honestly, it was one human that did all of those things. So
Right.
so somebody, his agent might have done him a disservice by not, I don't know, doing something to bring that to people's attention, I guess. And then if there was a correlation between the two, then yes. I mean, just like you're saying with a margarita, every time you look at a margarita, you think of Jimmy Buffett. But it's only because it was made known who sang that song. You knew who sang that song, and they pounded it into your head. And like Jeff was saying, like, I don't, is he even famous as a talent? I don't even know what it is. He's obviously incredible, or he was incredibly lucky for hitting these few little chords and making gazillions of dollars. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know if that constitutes a brand or not. His sound is a brand, yes, but nobody knows nobody knows whose sound it is, I guess. So
That is my thing. It's
Until
not
now.
him. It's the sound. His brand. He's the only person I can think of that his brand is the sound, and everyone moves to it. Those are like the most iconic. You want to put other things in there. There's not many others. There's in
Right.
that field. You know.
You
there's
can put,
just not.
you can even put the Beatles in there easily.
Yep.
They're
But
they've won
but do
more
people have to know the
awards.
Beatles?
Well,
Any
okay,
any language.
I'll go another way because I think, and you guys can call me stupid on this one and tell me I'm wrong all you want, but I think you got to think in a modern day thought with this. Arguably, two of the most influential things to ever expose music to people who had never thought of them were Guitar Hero and Rock Band, the video games. And the idea that people through button mashing could play songs and try to perfect them, you know, by mockingly playing the notes. And I know this because I was every weekender, that's what me and my buddies would do. And we listen to music that, I'll be honest with you, there's some songs on there that I was glad to get to play a song that I was familiar with, but there was other songs that I'm like, hell if I know what the hell this is, and got to do it that way. That being said, and Jeff's comment made me think of this. Two bands ever had the video game completely made after them. Guitar
The
Hero
Beatles and
did
Aerosmith.
correct. Aerosmith had Guitar Hero, a full disc done for them, which by the way gave me way more about Aerosmith than I ever knew. Getting to play deep cuts there that I would never have looked for otherwise. At a young, influential age that made me want to listen to a little bit more of them. And the Beatles one, it was cool to get to follow the story in a very cartoony cinematography type setting of that. But again, deep cuts, stories about the songs that I would never have gotten otherwise. And had it not been for their brand that was being able to market this game themed after those two bands, could have been any other band if it wasn't their brand that was able to put that forth.
All right. I'll thank the panelists for doing this show tonight with us. Of Some Minds will return next month with Where Did Your Music Journey Start and Is It Over? Check us out on Album Saturdays and Unknown Sundays. Hopefully my voice will get better. And this Unknown Sunday should be back to, it's supposed to be M. Griner. I had to postpone it last week. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. You know, articles, videos, podcasts, all about albums, bands, artists, anything we get our hands on. Go Beyond Your Radio with us. So my voice gives out a real music appreciation channel.
And
Thanks
we
for watching.
promise, and we promise that episode of Sound Minds is not going to sound as dark as Mark just made it sound.
Thanks for watching. Happy listening.